can share the video with people who weren't able to make it live. I see Karine and Adora have just joined us. Welcome, everyone. Lovely to see you. And so without further ado, we're just going to kick off. So it's my pleasure this evening to introduce you to our speaker and facilitator for this evening. That's the fabulous Raymond Yap from Singapore. And Raymond has been one of our amazing master facilitators who shared TetraMap with many, many others all around the Asia region particularly. So he's a real asset to our community. And I think part of what he does is he always wants to share some of the lessons he's learned with others in the community. And as soon as this COVID-19 situation happened, he created what is called a business continuity framework based on TetraMap, and we'll share some of those things with you. He'll share some of those things with you this evening. But it actually really shows the breadth of TetraMap's flexibility in these situations. So Raymond's got a few slides in which he's going to share things with you. We're going to send you off to a couple of breakout rooms to have some discussions, and then we'll end up with a few minutes at the end for question and answers. So like all our teach and learn workshops, we hope to make it as interactive as possible. So that's all I really want to say in the introduction. And without further ado, let's hand over to you, Raymond. Raymond, don't forget to unmute.
Yes, I have unmuted already. Yes. Yeah, so good afternoon, everyone. Really, it's my great pleasure to have this opportunity to share my passions about TetraMap and how to use TetraMap in addressing all different kind of topics, management issues. Yeah, so today I would like to share with all of you and these little tools, how to use TetraMap to look at the business continuation at this juncture of this COVID-19. Yeah. Yeah, so a little bit of background of myself. I was with the Air Force for 27 years, and 2006, that's where I met John and Yoshimi in UK. And then we invited John and Yoshimi to come to Air Force, and we introduced this TetraMap to Air Force in 2006. Since then, it was a great journey for me for more than 14 years now. Yeah, so TetraMap has been part and parcel of my life and also my business. Yeah, so this is a little bit of myself. On the top left, there is the pictures where I was still with the Air Force. I was involved in designing of the training program for the Air Force, and this is where I found my passion. Yeah, and I was loving it, and so that I could continue to use TetraMap in subsequently when I retired in 2007, and I used TetraMap in many different programs. So I do a lot of community service and give back to society. I was also in 2014, yeah, there was so far 6 years ago, I wrote a book about my pathway to success, also using the 4 elements. Then shared about the story on a radio station and was then converted to a digital product. Yeah. So for the past 14 years has been a great journey of using the TetraMap. Yeah. All right. So, okay. Yeah. So today I will just quickly, most important is talk about the BCP, how I use the TetraMap approach to develop and look into at this juncture, this unknown situation, uncertain situations. How do we cope? How could we sustain a business? I think this is in a lot of people's mind that workers are affected and the orders are all affected. Then how do we sustain a business? Yeah. So the whole thing came about is also like we all know that TetraMap is using nature as a metaphor. So the whole framework is using metaphor of air, water, fire, and then looking into the 4 different perspectives of the business functions. Yeah. So we all know that this 4 element has been everywhere. It's not something that difficult. So the most impressed I learned about TetraMap is that since the Roman Empire's time, this has been already been used, having these 4 elements. Yeah, so it is something that been long time ago. So this TetraMap has been part and parcels and in our daily life. So this volatile, uncertainty, complex and ambiguity worlds, a lot of things keep changing, a lot of things that we don't know. It was great that recently I had facilitated a session together with Robin in Kuala Lumpur. So it's also about how the leadership lead the organization in this VUCA world. Yeah, so when COVID-19 hit, since January, I came back from China. Yeah, so, and almost like everything was put to a pause. That also have given me a lot of opportunity to look at what I was doing and then what could be the new way that continue to spread this passion of TetraMap to the people around me. So COVID-19 has been giving me an opportunity. I have created quite a few framework. So this framework that I'm going to share is also based on why are we doing this framework that help us to look at goals and also compelling visions. So the whole framework, it was modified or was also that through this, and then I came out this BCP framework. Yeah. Yeah, so in short, this framework look into 4 perspectives in the four elements perspective. Not to forget about every companies, I also have included here one of the important functions, and that is the vision, mission, values. So right at the bottoms, the missions, and on top, the vision, and also the values. Yeah, so the whole framework is not in isolations. It is an integration of any companies, any individuals, or when you're doing your business, you're doing your training program, or as a coach. So this framework could also be applied. So I have used this framework also that to share with a Philippine company. She's also in today's sharing here. Yeah. So how to use this framework to look at how the company to the various challenges, right? Yeah, so I will go into each element very quickly, very short and brief. And after that, we will go into the breakout room, discuss what could be your action plan for each of these pointer. And this pointer, I call them as a key focus area under each element. So each element, I have identified 4 key focus area. So in total, there are 16 key focus area in this framework. So would like to invite you, if you could, every key focus area, you work out 3 action plan. So I am very sure, and this total 40. So 16 times 3, 48 action plans. Your business will be able to at least sustain for the next 6 months. Yeah, so this is something that I would like to share with all of you. All right, yeah, so next, okay. So now go on to the earth elements. As we're all aware, the earth elements, the attribute of earth elements, all right? And if you like, you can also type in, but it is quite simple, right? So earth, like a mountain, is firm, and this is what we all learned. And in overuse or under stress condition, that could be also seen as blunt. So these are the attribute of the earth elements perspective. So from here, I use these keywords, this key attribute, and then I identify what could be some of the business function. Yeah, and I call it the key focus area under the earth elements. So over here, I have identified 4. Number 1, the leadership behavior. So in this COVID situations, it's very important as a business owner, as a leader, how is the daily behavior, how is the daily actions that will affect the company, affects the employees. So when I was coaching the Philippine company and also the one of the China company, the business owner take the leadership and spend times and with the employees, and also that give a lot of assurance to the employees that there will be no layoff, and also giving them a lot of as a leaders and what could support the individuals employees needs. So this leadership behavior is the first one. So subsequently, would like to ask you that what could be others leadership behavior that you could do. Fundamental structure. So this is the one that at this point, look at your company, look at what is the structures that you could have finance, you could have operation, you could have marketing, you could have design, all different kind of structures and branches. Look at it that, so where could you now that restructured, where could you now that redeploy some of the resources? All right, so look at the fundamental structures at this moment. And the third key focus area is about core operations. For example, one of the factories in China that where I coach is a jeans manufacturing companies. So look at all the various operations that and company owner have to identify where are the resources that put in more, and the one that in the designing, for example, in the designing part at this moment there's no need, there's minimum requirement about the designing and develop new fashions. So and the resources are also redeployed. So identify what are the core operations and focus on the core operations. All right. And the fourth thing is about waste cutting. So at this moment, many company owner or leaders felt that the first thing we need to do is to lay off and need to retrench. But when I do business coaching with companies in Philippines, also in China, my advice is always that do not retrench. All right. So the peoples are your key assets. So here the waste cutting is also looking into that many things like what you could do is about some of the inventory that you're holding in the warehouse, some of the processes that it could be repeated, it could be redundant. So look into what could be some of the resources that you could reduce. So I call it as a waste cutting. All right. So these are the four key focus area under the earth element, the outcome and the result that we must look at it, the bottom line. You could also develop other key focus area. So this is for my suggestions that these are the four key focus area. All right. So now we'd like to divide you into the small groups, and Luis will help me to divide you into the small group, and then we'll discuss under each focus area what could be 3 action plans you could think of. So it is also a brainstorming. It is also a way that share your idea and expand what could be the action plans. Luis, over to you.
Yeah. Thank you, Raymond. Great. Okay, so what we're going to do is you'll be used to going off into your Zoom rooms by now. I'm sure many of us have been in 5 or 6 Zoom meetings a day for the last week. So we're going to send you off into your Zoom meetings. We're going to have small groups of about 4 people in each. And we're going to give you 5 or 6 minutes to discuss what Raymond's just explained to you, talking about some of these three key things that you might wish to do in your groups. And then we're going to ask a couple of the groups to come and report back via a verbal debrief into the main group. And we're going to ask every single group to put a couple of things in the chat box. And that way everybody gets to share each other's ideas. So that's the concept. Have a bit of a discussion, 5 or 6 minutes, and then bring back 3 or 4 key things to the main group. So I hope the instructions are clear. Off you go into your breakout rooms and have fun. I will send you a note about the key things you'll be looking to discuss, and I'll also send you a note when there's a minute to go. So with that, shoot you into your rooms. Don't know who's going to be with who. It's all very random. Have fun.
Can I just ask a quick question, Luis?
Sure.
This group that you put us in the breakout room is going to be constant for the next 3 elements as well, right?
No, I can't guarantee that.
Okay, so I just want to check on that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's all right. Thank you. It's sort of a bit random, Jennifer.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
Get to meet more people that way.
Sure, sure.
Thank you for the question. Right, so what I'm going to do is I've asked, I'm going to ask a couple of the groups just to report on what they discussed. So if you don't mind, I'm going to ask Deb, Cherry and Salsa if somebody from your group would please just report verbally on what you discussed.
All right, Ian here. I'll talk about one of the things we discussed. And of the 4, I guess it cuts across waste cutting as well as leadership behaviors. Something similar to what Raymond talked about. Some things are not instinctive, and while cutting people might be the easiest thing to do, but it might not be good for the long-term sustenance of the company. So one thing that I have been thinking about is how do we manage inefficiencies in a unit.
Mm-hmm.
And why I say that is sometimes, yeah, you in an organization or a company, you got different sections of it, and to their benefit, actually all these section heads actually mean well for the company, but there's times where processes get duplicated. So as a leader, what is our responsibility now to take a step back, look at the big picture, and trim away these inefficiencies, which may be costing the company in the long run?
Thank you. That's some great insights. Well, I would love every group to put some comments in the chat box, because that way we can share the chat. At the end of the recording, we can download the chat and I'll share it with others. So in the next group, I'd like to ask somebody from the group that contained Graham, Ivy and Sue to share what they discussed.
Maybe I'll step in then.
Thank you, Sue.
Assuming that's okay with the rest of the group. We kind of made the assumption that organisations are in a luxury position where they don't have to make people redundant or put them on short-time working immediately. And we talked about one of the businesses was now really good at, not that they weren't before, but even better now at communicating through the business in an open and honest manner and sharing the financial plans with everybody. And even though that they didn't necessarily have all the answers right now, which is the same with governmental bodies, etc., they were able to share as much as they could and get the employees involved in perhaps decisions that were going to be made later on. We also talked about what Salsa's just mentioned about trimming inefficiencies, and we talked about putting employees in groups so that they could look at their own work and say, well, how could we do things differently and smarter going forward? Where can we make some efficiencies within our roles and within our teams? And then also, because I work with a big client that's massively affected by this, what they've done is that where departments have kind of dried up, the work immediately is stopped because of the industry that they're in. They've now put those employees within customer service because there's been a massive demand from customers wanting answers about X, Y, and Z, depending upon the business that they're in. So there's been some retraining or some let's go back to work in customer service because that's where I worked before. So maybe then there's an opportunity for retraining within customer service and also within sales. So everybody can start to, think beyond the parameters of their own job that they're currently working, whatever that is. So we discussed a couple of areas. Which,
thank you, Sue.
Yeah,
no, that's great. And I see some great comments coming in the chat box as well. So I'll give you a chance to have a look at those as we're going through. Really appreciate the comments. So really, the value of this is getting to know other people from parts of the other side of the world and just hearing different perspectives, which is what we love at TetraMap. So thank you all very much for your comments. Back to you, Raymond. Raymond, we can't hear you.
Okay, so I'm saying that the next element is air, like the wind is clear. And so this is what we all learn. So air element, the attributes, behavior, is logics, systematics, orderly, accurate. And we also say that and could be also perceived as criticals. All right, so this is the TetraMap's the air elements behavior we know. So from here, I look at it that the element I want to look at the business of the function as a system, the structure, the financial planning. So these will be the key things that I'll be looking at. So to look at the COVID-19 issues, and so what could be the risk management plan? So a lot of people say that risk management could have already worked out before anything hit us. Yeah, but now this thing hit us and it is sudden, so we still have to manage it. All right. So the risk management part here is that I would advise the companies that to work out a matrix, a risk management matrix. So what could be some of the operations like HR, like operations, like your raw material, your supply chain, your customers, yeah, your operations, your all these work out all the different functional area and what could you do more, what could you do less. All right. Financial plan. So this is also that I have advised the Philippines and China and Hong Kong, some of the companies that, so the financial plan is that to work out, I call it as a scenario planning. So with, usually it's a cash flow, it's also always that I put at the test. So work out the cash, so how much of the cash that each company could have, and without doing anything, how long could you sustain? And with a certain for example, like a reduction of the CEO, reduction of the management teams in, for example, 20%, 30%, and reduction of the supervisors by 10%, reduction of the salary of the worker by 5%. So how long could you sustain? So it is also the scenario that without doing anything, how long could your company sustain? And with a little bit of compromise, and rather than to retrench, to lay off, and how long could the company sustain? All right. So this financial plan is also to work out that what are the key components that you have to pay. So what are the things that you could delay the payment? So how could you negotiate with your supplier? So this is all about the financial, go into the very details, do the scenario planning, right? Yeah. The operational processes here. So this is a time that when I advise the jeans company, so look at the operational processes that from the point of the time that receiving the raw material and to go into the cutting, go into the sewing, go into the zip. So every process look into, so where could be the processes that either there's overlap that just now that Yen and Sue also have mentioned about. So where could reducing the redundant, reducing the waste, it could also reducing some of the waiting time. So look into processes, you could use the re-engineering process. You could do the business process mapping. So there are various tools that for you to look at your processes now and see where could you do less. And you could also that go back to some waste reductions. The fourth things, the preventive measures here. So these preventive measures here, both in terms of operations and also that how you could prevent loss of the customer, for examples. So what could you do of loss of customer? What could you do and to keep track, to keep in relationship with your supplier? So what could you do also that with your employees? And because at certain times that the employee may have anxiety and they may want to leave the company. So here the preventive measure, you could also work out about the physicals, protective and preventive measure for your employees. So again, so these are the 4 key focus area as a lens for us to look at the company in an air element perspective. All right, so these are some examples. So over to you, Luis. So we could also invite the rest to chip in. So what could be some of the action plan?
Okay. So I'm just going to open all rooms. I'm not sure who you'll end up with this time. Maybe it'll be somebody different, but have good fun. Have that discussion. We'll ask a couple of people to come back and report. and I'll put some notes in the broadcast to you. See you in a couple of moments. We'll allow 5 minutes for this.
Yeah, I will join some.
Well, that was interesting. I've just had a note from Robin that says we didn't get any sound that time. Was that the same for everybody? I hope you had sound in some of your groups. Yes, John's saying yes, that's good.
We had sound.
Ooh, that's a big worry. All right, so who are we going to ask to report on this particular one? I've decided to pick Karine, Claire and Yoshimi to report first on this group. And off you go. So who'd like to start? Karine, do you want to join in, or you want to leave it to Claire or Yoshimi?
We've nominated Karine.
No, Karine's speaking.
Go for it, Karine.
It sounds like I'm nominated. I see Yoshi gesturing there. So I'll do my very best here. So we talked to the planning and the pivoting, and that pivoting from whether it be 1:45 to the top of the hour, 10 minutes to the top of the hour, 5 minutes to the top of the hour. Each of those pivots can be crucial, and with online stuff, with leveraging, basically also use, when we say pivoting in that way, what can we be doing differently? Thinking back to previous times where we're using a scenario thinking process, what worked, what would we do differently? How can we creatively, independently connect and network with peers, with colleagues, with clients, with suppliers? That whole reaching out to clients and creatively collaborating together in a coach-like environment is a very cool way of going too. So the other area that we picked up on as well was with the preventative, because as we all know, this is not going to be the first, it's not the last. There's been many of these types before us, and there's going to be more coming up. So to be able to look at from a preventative perspective as to what we would do differently should we need to pivot yet again and then yet again. So really layering.
Yeah, great contributions. Okay, and just one comment from the group that contained Jeremy, Nick and Sharon, and then we'll move on. Nick Veltman, that is, sorry.
Sorry, I'm on mute. I love the fact that Sharon, when Raymond was talking about it, immediately went to family and said, well, what's the risk management, financial plan, processes, etc., that we can have in the family, because people in her family were affected in terms of their pay and their salary they received, and if they even had a job, which was a beautiful thing, which Jeremy then also supported. And then we kind of wrapped it back to the employer and said, well, the employer also needs to take that into account from a perspective of the knock-on effect to the family. So if everyone's looking at it from that perspective of the human at the centre, then how cool would that be? And then decisions would be made for the right reason. So, and then we kind of said, well, you know, what are the stuff that we haven't really missed while we've been in lockdown, and do we really need it when we come out of lockdown?
Yes, I saw that in the comments. That was great.
Yeah.
And thank
Sharon,
you, Sue.
Jeremy, did I miss anything?
I think you've got the thumbs up there. Sue is putting some comments, and Vivian in the chat box, so that's great. So please keep contributing to your chat box, because that way we get everybody's comments, and when we get the chat, you can look back on what other groups have said that perhaps you might not have considered. So I really appreciate that. Conscious of time, so I'm going to hand back to Raymond, and we're going to look at the third perspective. Over to you, Raymond.
Okay. Yes, so the water elements, yeah, so we all know that water elements over here. So water, like the lake, is calm. So these are the 4 attributes that we already learned. The feeling, the considerate, be patient, and also that sometimes we perceive as hesitant. So these are the 4 key focus area. And just now someone asked me that under each element, do I also, the 4 focus area that, do I also look at the 4 different perspective of a water fire? You could try that. So for me, the water elements, I would focus on the people, on the HR, human resource, and also the emotion. So these are the 4. The psychology, the mental state of the employee. So it is important. So here, when I advise and when I do the business coaching of the companies, I advise them to give, in terms of the psychological supports, that to have some morning sessions with them, and because now you don't see the workers, you don't see the employees day to day. Yeah, and the second point, the support, it could be also that both in terms of the financial support and also that psychological support and also the physical. So some of the company that in China that give the employees the physical mask support and also that some of the others daily needs. Right. So these are the both psychological and the physical support. The third point, key focus area, it is also a good times to do training and educations. The company from Philippines that I'm supporting and took this time that to train the company management staff how to do executive coaching and how to do business coaching. All right, so training education is also a good opportunity now. The 4th key focus area, not to forget at these junctures, not to only looking inwards, but also that what could continue the company to do in terms of community service, in terms of social service. So one of the China company that is a F&B company, is a restaurant. And so instead of just only looking inwards, these companies start to provide meals and to those volunteers workers. And yeah, so every day this restaurant will pack some of the complimentary meals and to give to some of these volunteers. Yeah, so these are the water elements for key focus area. So what could you do? What could be others action plans? Right, let's discuss in a small group.
Welcome back, everyone. If you've joined, just put some notes in the chat box. So what do
Everyone is back.
I wonder if Louise is on mute.
Luis?
Sorry, that's me. Yes, I am. This time we're going to hear from the group beneath Dora and Meta. And Meta, I wondered if you could take it away for us. You'll need to unmute yourself because, like me, I forgot.
I think one of the points that we discussed, I think in a very short, succinct point would be that we do see this as a period of reflection, a period to identify the emotions that if there are any, that are probably underlying on our day-to-day work, and probably address those issues accordingly. And there are times where probably we do have tasks that are important but may not be urgent. And I think now it's also a good time for us to address those issues as well, because perhaps on a day-to-day basis, when we're all busy, those issues are usually sidelined. Yeah. That's it from me.
That's great. Thank you. Okay. Well, I'm going to move on now to our final element. Please keep putting your notes in the chat box. That way we get to hear from every group. I see some great things coming in there. Thank you for those contributions. So Raymond, over to you for the final group.
All right. Yeah, so the fourth element, the final one, is the fire element. Fire, like the sun, is bright. All right. Yeah. Yeah, so some of us like the fire elements a lot. So the behavioral attributes, yeah, possibility, spontaneous, enthusiastic, and perceived or sometimes under stress can be seen as easily distracted. All right, so over here, my focus, fire elements will be the innovation, the future, looking forward that what could be the new opportunity, new possibility for the company. Yeah, so these are the four focus area. Motivational plan. So how could, so what could the company do? What could the leader do? Continue to motivate self, motivate the rest of the company, employees, the management team. So what could be also that monetary, non-monetary type of motivational plan. Next one is the operational improvement. So just now we're talking about the element that is to look at the processes. So here now we want to look at, so what could be the improvement? So what could we do in a most efficient way, a better way, all right? So the operational improvement. Third key focus area, the product improvement. So at this moment, so what could also that, for example, the jeans factory, so what could improve in terms of the products here now? So here is looking into the both operational processes at the same time as a final products. So for all of us here, most of us are training company, as a coach, as a facilitator. Look into that. What could we do in terms of operational improvement? Like now, many of us turn to online. So what could be the product improvement? So how could we redesign the TetraMap Why Are You Like That workshops? All right. So the fourth one is a new product development. So this is also area that not only just about what we know, what could be the new product that we would like to do for the clients. So one example, this BCP framework through TetraMap, which is a new product I have developed. So I have also developed a few more, just to name it, 4 elements of management by objectives, and also the 4 elements of corporate culture, 4 elements of team success, 4 elements of the TetraMap, 4 elements of talent management success, and 4 elements of leadership success. So take this opportunity to develop new products, right? So these are the 5 elements. So over to you and see what are those fabulous ideas that you could come up. Over to you, Luis.
Okay. Hello, anyone there?
Hi, Johanna. Why are you not in a group?
Am I not in a group? Is this not a group?
No.
I don't know. I thought I clicked join group when the thing popped up.
Hang on a minute. Let me see if I can find you and send you off to somewhere else. It says you've got to join. I'll move you to another group and then you might be able to join. How's that?
Oh, okay. I see it. I see it. I think it just disappeared.
Go. Well done, everyone. Thank you and welcome back. Because of time, I'm going to ask every single person to put one thing in the chat box, please. We can all get inspired by the fire element perspective, coming up with new ideas, and I'm sure we all have. So let's put something in there. And then I'm going to hand back to Raymond for the wrap up, and then we'll talk to you about something that's coming up next, won't we, Robin? Great comments coming in, thank you. Nice, great. Pushing us over the edge of resistance. Share free stuff a lot. Yeah, thanks to Nicolette from Inspire Group. We've shared some of their brilliant free stuff. Look at all these ideas coming in. We knew this one would be the easiest, right? Raymond, I'm going to hand back to you for a minute summary and then we'll just leave the last word to Robin.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, just to have a quick recap. So this BCP to TetraMap, the 4 elements. So it is a framework that allow us to look into any of the business functions, or it could be also that you want to look into your company issues here now. So this is just a 4 elements perspective. All right, yeah. Last but not least, so it's also that something that we could also use these 4 elements to look into what today's learning. So what are your insights from this BCP framework? So how are you feeling now? So what would you like to explore with this 4 elements perspective? And what could be your actions within the next 24 hours, the next 7 days, and next 30 days? We would also like to invite you. If you want, you could also use this as a template and put into the chat. Yeah. So last but not least, before I hand back to Luis, yeah. So I just want to have a quote that from Jack Ma, that in this uncertainty, in these VUCA situations, that a lot of times it's not only just about we do alone. So we have to empower others. We have to make sure that everyone or other people that are better than you, all right, so that the company will be successful. Yeah, so something that for us to think about that using the framework, how we could also empower others to do better. Yeah, so hand back to you, Louise.
Thank you, Raymond. Well, Raymond's left his contact information here. What we will do next, as we have done with all the webinars, is we'll send out the chat notes, the template, and the recording to you all, and to those people who weren't able to join us live. It's been a great evening. Thank you, Raymond, for the amount of energy and contributions that you've put our way. And we just want to make a plug for the next session, which is coming up later on this week with the fabulous Alex from Mexico, who's going to be talking to us about his specialty, which is communication. So I think from all of us, let's say a huge thank you to Raymond. Look out for some more stuff coming through. And we really, really have loved these opportunities of connecting with our community. And one thing we know for sure is that connection is so important during this time. So thank you for being with us this evening. And yeah, look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you, Louise. Thank you, Raymond.
Thank you, Raymond.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
everybody.
Corinne. Yeah.